question has to be, what up with the thumbs?
I've always made videos with my thumbs. Actually, that's not totally true. This time the first one I made was to try and get someone to fancy me. Like, I made it to try and get a man to like me. And it worked. I'm being married to that. But when I was writing this originally,
Louder!
Louder, like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold it like a lollipop.
I'm gonna like touch my lips to it. The first version of this script, I'm an editor, that's my background, and the first version I did of this script was, well, I refer to it as the sad version. So, like, it was about a sad girl looking out of a window, sadly thinking about sad things. And I was really proud of it, I was really pleased with it, and I gave it to my brother, who doesn't work in the film industry, to read. I was kind of like showing off, I think, and he read it and he went, "Oh, well done, you've done something brilliant, like, I could never do that, you've written a whole feature film, that's incredible, I don't like it, I don't like anything in it, nobody's going to go and watch it." And he basically said, "You're not like that, you sort of make jokes even when things are really awful, and so maybe you should think about doing that." So I applied for a screenwriting lab in the UK and got onto it, but one of the things that you have to do is show some examples of your work as a writer-director, and I hadn't done anything. So, you know, I had to go and do like show and tell effectively. And so I stuck my phone to the table and made a fun video. And it sort of went down all right. And at the time I was going, yeah, I'm going to make a comedy about grief. And everyone was going, no, you're not. No, you're not. And so it sort of helped communicate the tone a little bit in the early days. And then I started thinking, well, maybe the character in the film could make fun videos. But I sort of wanted the thumbs to operate in a slightly more, you know, on a higher level in some way, I suppose, to have a great meaning. And so then I started thinking, well, maybe if she had a twin that had died, because if you look at the thumbs, they kind of look like each other, you know, then this thing that you think is kind of inane at the beginning, once you realise sort of what she's doing, you realise that actually it's not very healthy, and so it has a sort of extra layer to it.
And you did a short version of this. Was that part of that lab? And it was called Emotional Fuse Box.
Yeah. It was at the end of that lab. The script was sort of doing quite well within the public funding circles in the UK, but I hadn't directed anything, and so in order for them to give me the big bucks to make this, I had to make a short film, and they gave me the option of either shooting like a few scenes from the script or to use the characters and some of the scenarios and make a short film out of that. So that's what I chose to do, and yeah, it did well.
And you made it with your two best friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my two best friends are the girls in it, obviously, but I'm friends with the snorkeler.
The snorkeler.
At a gig like 10 years ago, and the guy who has the I was going to say condom there, but that's only because I've just seen some weird. Never mind. Not a condom. The guy with the deformed carrot, he's also a friend. Actually, he became a friend because I'd written the script and there was no love interest in it. And all the way through the public funding bodies and all my execs were going, you should make this into a rom-com, you should make this into a rom-com. And I was going, no, because the answer to her problems is not a man. And then I saw him doing something and I went, oh, maybe you could be the love interest, because the thing about Brett is that he's supremely good looking. Like, if he walks into a room, you kind of go, oh, wow, you look amazing. And then he opens his mouth and you go, oh, no, that doesn't really work. And so he's this sort of interesting kind of, like, and he's really bumbly and nervous in real life as well. And so I thought that would kind of work.
No, I thought that casting was brilliant for his part too. Yeah. And I read something where you said the character of Anna is sort of a compilation of you and Jodie Whittaker, who played Anna, and then Rachel Deering, who played the other gal.
Yeah, like, I think, like, she's sort of a mishmash of all three of those, and Rachel's character is as well. In real life, they're like childhood best friends. I met Jodie like when I was 21, like 2 weeks ago. No, it's like 17 years ago or something. And but Jodie and Rachel have been best friends since they were born. And in real life, they're actually kind of a bit opposite. So Jodie's the sort of confident one and a bit gobby and stuff, and Rachel is really nervous. She's a teacher. This is the first thing she's ever acted in. So, yeah, it was special for us.
Yes, a very special cast. And we're going to open it up to questions. Who has a question for Rachel? We'll wait for the mic and you'll be next. Okay?
Yeah, so they're your best friends, but are they actresses? Because they did a great job.
Yeah, Jodie's quite famous in the UK, so she's in something called Broadchurch, which is a TV program. I think you guys have it over here now, actually.
Yes. You know, if you remember, she was the mother with the...
She does a lot of grieving mum characters
Yes.
in the UK. So I wrote her another.
And she was also in Cranford, wasn't she?
She might have been. Yeah,
Long
she had
time
her
ago.
teeth blacked out, didn't she? I've got a photo. She sent me a photo of her looking like she's got no teeth.
Right.
Is that right? I can't remember. Something like that. Yes, Jodie is quite well known in the UK, particularly. But Rachel, no. It was a really difficult job to get her onto the film because obviously we have public money, and so they're going. Well, actually, like, until we made the short film version of it, they kept saying you could cut that character and then the story wouldn't really be affected and it doesn't matter. And I was kind of going, well, I think that's what the story is about, is their friendship, actually. And so doing the short film, when we showed it at film festivals and stuff, she got a really big response, and we got BAFTA nominated actually for it, and after that all the questions about her being involved sort of went away. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, right here.
Yes, Anna was paralyzed by deep personal loss. What inspired you to write such a story?
I think so for me the beginnings of this was this sad version of the script, and I think I just sort of was trying to write the most dramatic thing I could possibly write so that I could go and smoke like filterless gauloises in Cannes and like wear a beret and stuff. Be really respected. And I think like probably I was just looking for something very dramatic, but that hadn't really sort of been investigated before. And so one of the other things that happened in the development of the script is when I moved it across to being twins, there's a charity in the UK called the Wellcome Trust, which funds writers to work with scientists to develop stories about specific areas of scientific research. So they gave me some money to do research with some Americans actually into twin loss, and twin loss sort of manifests itself in a different way to normal sort of experiences of grief. So it sort of primarily results in a massive identity crisis and an existential crisis, and often they still experience the twin as though they're in the real world with them. And I thought that was all really funny. So I thought like, especially those kind of crises were kind of things that have sort of humour embedded in them, especially if you're with your mum and your mum's telling you you've got grey hair in the middle of all this type of thing, you know, so I thought it was quite...
So, when did you decide to do fraternal twins as opposed to identical or...
I don't know. I think probably that I just really wanted to cast the guy who was the snorkeler because he can clog dance. That's basically the only reason I wanted him in the film. Not that he does any clog dancing, but I was just sort of a bit obsessed with it. I thought it'd be quite good fun.
Well, you've got different casting style, I have to say. He's handsome, but he has a funny voice. I'll take him. He can clog dance. He's in.
Yeah, but like when you're making a film, I think particularly one like this, where it's it's a real passion project. Jodie's my best friend. She's pregnant in the film.
Oh yes, talk about the stunt thumbs.
Oh yeah, the stunt thumbs are mine. But like I think she was when we shot the film, she's like 4.5 months, 5 months pregnant, something like this. You can actually see it, but we sort of thought it worked as though she was like just a little bit like got a pot belly or something from the thing in the shed. But when I went to shoot the thumb video, it was much later in the edit, and she was 8 months pregnant. And so I didn't want to make her sit under a table, basically. So I did the thumbs myself. But I think, like, going back to the casting thing, you know, I was really conscious that when I was working as an editor, like, towards the latter sort of part of my time doing that, I was starting to make decisions about what jobs I did, not only based on whether I really liked the script, but just like whether I wanted to spend 6 months in a room with somebody. And I think, so when we were putting this film together, I really wanted to work with collaborators who I just wanted to spend time with and who cared about the project.
Sure.
And I think, you know, like my dad is in it, playing the recorder. That's quite funny. My dad was like, he was like, am I going to get a cameo? My dad was a factory manager, so he's not really anything to do with like film. But I was like, yeah, I'll give you a cameo. And I made him, he doesn't play any instruments, so I was like, are you going to play the recorder like in The Wicker Man? And he was really nervous, and I really wanted him to play Annie's Song by John Denver, because I support a football team in Sheffield, and we sing a sort of like very sweary, altered version of Annie's Song before, so it's like a family thing. And so he practiced it for weeks, learning to play Annie's Song on the recorder, and then he arrived on the film set. There's like 50 people there. He's put in this really weird like Wicker Man costume. He's really shaking and everything. And the producer just casually walked up and went, "We can't afford John Denver, so you've got to do Morning is Broken." So I was like, no. What? And so we were filming in the Peak District, and so he like went outside. The other guy who's in that scene is a carpenter who built the stairs in my house. Ash Jody's brother, who has false teeth, and I made him take them out and lick the packet of crisps. Anyway, so it was a real family thing. But they all arrived, and we're all in their like weird woolly jumpers in the middle of the Peak District. My dad's absolutely bricking it about playing Morning is Broken, and so they went out because they had an hour to kill before they were on. They went out into the Peak District and sat on this like hiking walk sort of like area, and the two guys are smoking a fag in their like full-on woolly jumper outfits, and my dad with his recorder practicing Morning is Broken.
Aww.
And then people hiking past them. No idea that they were like in a film or anything, just like they're into weird dogging or something.
Okay, who has another question for Rachel? Yes, back here.
Hi.
Oh,
Is someone before me?
you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, it was very moving. I really enjoyed it. Congratulations. I very much enjoyed it. Two questions about the short. One, is it available anywhere? And
It's on Vimeo. Do you have Vimeo?
Yeah, we do, of
So
course.
it's on the internet.
Wonderful. And second question, can you talk about the experience of going from feature to short, and speak about that? I imagine that can be a challenge because sometimes cutting things to create a feature is a challenge. So can you talk about that experience?
Do you mean like script-wise? Like,
Yeah.
Well, because I'm from an editing background, I just really love throwing stuff away. Like, it's great. And I think, so in that sense, I didn't have sort of any issues with it. There was one big issue actually, which was in the feature film at that point, I'd written a talking otter into it. So the snorkeler wasn't in there, and she used to go swimming in a lake, like you guys do here. But like an otter would come up and he would sing songs by the pop song artist Seal to her. It's her thing. And everyone loved the otter. It was like this big unspoken thing that like everyone really loved the otter. And as I was making the short film, all my execs were going, you need to put some magic realism into the short because you've got this quite big thing in the beach film. And I was going, yeah, I'm not going to. And then we made the short film, and it did very well. And suddenly, I started getting these emails from my execs going, "There's an otter farm in the Peak District. Maybe you want to go and visit it. And are you gonna like film a real otter and put subtitles on it, or are you gonna have a puppet otter, or are you gonna like CGI its mouth to sing?" And I had to have this really awkward conversation with my producer where I went, I don't like films with talking animals. I don't know why I've written it. We've got to get rid of it. And we were really worried that if that happened, that I cut it, that they were not going to give us the money. So it was sort of like a little bit of an awkward moment. But I think No, I think I love chucking stuff away, so condensing it was really easy. And actually my favourite scenes in the film are not in the movie. They're just on my cutting room floor in my house because they didn't fit. And I think that it's only fear that prevents you from cutting things down. Fear that when you do that it won't be as good, or that it's like writer's block. I think writer's block is a bit like just an inability to make a decision, because if you are prepared to make decisions, then and you know that there is no wrong, you can always go back or do something else, then ideas always come, I think. And the biggest challenge, I think, for me in writing this was that I wrote it for like 2 years, even though it looks improvised. Everyone thinks it's improvised. It's not. I wrote a script. I spent years writing a script, but I kept throwing the jokes away because I'd get bored of reading them, and then my execs would be like, "The old joke was better. Like, what are you doing? Put it back into this one." So I've not answered your question at all, really. But
Well, we're going to move on to the next question that you're not going to answer. Right here, right behind you.
Tell us about the little boy, and then what are you working on next?
could you understand him? That's the number one. You know, everyone in England was like, all our sales agents were like, you need to subtitle this film for Americans. So when we went to Tribeca earlier in the year, and we were fully prepared for the fact that no one was going to understand anything. And then it was really great when you could understand a little bit. He's the only one that I used a casting director for. So I didn't want an actor kid. I wanted like a feral child from the streets. And so I hired a casting director who was used to casting like kids like that, and he went and looked at he found 200 kids sort of in schools and karate kid clubs and stuff like this. And he videoed 50 of them, and then I met 30 of them. But when I was going to meet them, the casting director said to me, "I know who it is." And I was like, ooh, I wonder if I'm going to think it's the same person. And I went into the room, and I'd written the kid in the script as being 11. And as soon as I went in and met the 11-year-old, I went, oh no, an 11-year-old wearing a cowboy hat. Like, you think there's something wrong with it?
It's just wrong.
It's just weird. And the older kids, they could all remember all the words, like verbatim. They would learn it, and then they would deliver it really well. And they understood what they were saying. And the younger kids could not do that at all, but they sort of were fresher, I think. And then, anyway, so then Ozzy, that's his name, Ozzy came in. And he's tiny, he was 7, but he was wearing the clothes of like a 4-year-old. And he was really shy, and he just basically stood in the corner, and the casting director said to me, Ozzy really likes boxing. So I was like, hey, I'll spar with you. Like, I got on my knees, I was like, let's have a fight. And thinking, you know, we're gonna have a nice little play fight, and he totally went for me. Like, he totally went for it. And so obviously we cast him, and then I went back to the script and I rewrote it for him, using the kind of words that he uses, and yeah, he was brilliant. I think I didn't rehearse him. My husband actually is a filmmaker and has worked a lot with feral children in his films. And he said, yeah, don't rehearse him. Like, just the day before, take him out for a pizza with his mum and dad. So we did that. And then he said the day before the shoot, just play like hide and seek and tag and football and stuff with him on the set, so that he gets used to the environment and he becomes your mate, your friend. And so that's what I did. In the chaos of setting the feature film, I was there like hiding under tables, like chasing this kid around.
Was he the same one that the casting director?
Yeah. It was absolutely obvious.
Oh.
It was like, at the beginning he was really nervous. So he's like, he was in for like 20 days or something, he had a lot of scenes, and like at the beginning he was really scared, so he would come onto the film set and he was like 60 people looking at him, he was really frightened, and that focused him and it made him really attentive. And then about 2 weeks into the film he went, I'm just as important as Jodie. And I could see like, oh my god, he's gonna become a monster. And he basically realised that if he said, I'm not doing it, like everyone went, oh my God, what's she gonna do? And everyone's like looking at their watches going, oh my God, we're not gonna make the day. And so basically I started bribing him. That's probably not very professional or ethical to even say that, but I did. I used to have this little game where like, I would say, if I give you a chocolate and £1, will you do the scene? And he would go, yeah. So I would give him the pound, and then he would give the pound to his dad, who was his chaperone, and then he would do the scene. His dad would give me the £1 coin back, and then Ozzy would go, I'm not doing the next scene. And I would be like, hey, what if I give you £1? So I'd give him £1 back, and he would give it to his dad. He thought he'd earned like 20 quid or something. Obviously very happy about this. He earned £1. Yeah.
No one in Michigan bribes children. That's just, you should just know that about us here. And you also asked, what's up next?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm doing a second film, which is a road trip between two best friends, like a breakup friendship film. It's a comedy. I'm doing 2 TV shows in the UK and starting to develop one with E1 in America at the moment. So maybe set around here. I'm rather taken with it.
Yeah, you already wanted to come back.
Yeah, definitely want to come back. I don't want to leave.
Do we have time for another question?
Yeah.
We do, okay.
Anybody up in the balcony?
Somebody in the balcony have a question?
Silence.
No. Right here, we have one. Hang on 1 second, she'll bring you the mic.
I was wondering if you could talk about how being an editor first maybe changed your writing process, or maybe helps you think about your writing and your directing differently, coming from an editing background first.
I think it just makes me, like working with the kid, for example, it just meant that I didn't worry about when he couldn't deliver his lines exactly and things like that. A lot of the time, I'm sat next to him and I'm saying the line and then making him mimic me, and then he's delivering it to Jodie, who's off screen. And we did that a lot with the sort of complicated stuff. And I just knew that it wouldn't matter if I didn't have him saying the whole line. Like, it could be across like several different takes, because I would be able to cut from something to something else with the person and stuff like that. And I think, like, also, when you're an editor, I think actually they're all quite similar sort of things. When you're writing, you're telling the story with words, and then when you're on the set, you're doing it with people, and then when you're in the cutting room, you're doing it with images and music. And I think in that sense it feels quite a fluid sort of process. But it just made me not worry about stuff, because I knew that when I was writing the script, there was no point being like really annoyed if somebody said that I needed to get rid of something or put something in, because I knew that when we got to the edit, that's what happens again anyway, and you recreate your whole film. I mean, I did a really stupid thing when I was writing it, because like as a editor, if somebody sent me a feature film script to read, if it was over 100 pages, you sort of go, oh, I don't want to read it. It might be The Godfather, but I don't want to read it. And so when I was writing mine, I was like, it is not going to be over 100 pages. It's definitely not. And mine was massively over 100 pages because they all talk. And so I did something really stupid, and I altered the margins. Don't do it.
What'd you get it down to?
I got it down to like 96. And everyone was like, hey, you got a 96 page script. And I was like, yes, I have. And then nobody worked it out until like we got like a week before the shoot, and the first AD put it into his like programming program, whatever that is. And he just came up to me and went, it's not 96 pages, is it? Oh God, I've been found out.
Nice trick.
Yeah, but so when we did the assembly, the first cut of the feature film, it was like, like 2.5 hours long. And I don't cut it loosely. It was not like looking at each other longingly for, it was really fast cut. It was just that I'd got too much, it was like, too much story. So then you throw it away and make a new story.
Any other questions for Rachel? Yes, right here. Here she comes. She's flying in.
I really liked the music and how you used it. How did that happen?
He's an American. He's from Texas. And he's a musician. I really like his music. And he did a gig in England, like, when I think I was like my 19th birthday, I went to see him. And basically she went up to him and went, I really love your music. Can I have your email address? And he went, yeah. And then I never emailed him until like we started doing this, and I just sort of dropped him an email and was like, hey, if you want to work on a movie, I can't pay you really very much money. I'll pay you in like packets of biscuits or something. Like, that's all I've got, pints of beer. I'll be really nice though. Yeah, he said yes, which was great. But he's a musician, not a composer, and so he would ring me up to talk about the film, but then he would like spark up a massive joint when he was on the telephone to me. So we would start off like talking about the queue, and then he would just be like, so how did you meet your husband? And obviously I had to have these conversations with him because I was not paying him very much. I was kind of like, we were talking for an hour and a half, like, you know more about me than like some of my best friends.
And more crisp, he's going to want more crisp and biscuits.
More crisps,
Yeah. Okay, well, unless someone has one more question, I think, well, everybody's moving on to other movies. That's what happens here. And is that it? Thank you. Well, okay. Thank you so much. That's been
On IMDb.